Okay, we're going to start off making our lace trim, and this is what it looks like, and it's a set of rows that you repeat over and over again to create it. And this is what the back side looks like, and it doesn't matter what loom you have. I'm using a half gauge, but you can use the 12 peg loom, and you can use any loom because this is just a flat piece done with a certain number of pegs. And it's narrower on the inside and wider on the outside so that when you actually wear it, it will hug the inside of the arms and stuff and flare out around the neck and back and shoulder area. Okay, so what I've done is I've E-wrap cast on, and I've done a single row of E-wrap. Actually, 2 rows of E-wrap. So you're going to want to E-wrap 2. Take the next peg, decrease, moving it to the next peg. Yarn over by taking the working yarn and lay it over the peg that's empty. E-wrap the next peg, toss both loops over, and then E-wrap to the end. Now you'll want to E-wrap 3 and then wrap and turn in E-wrap 3. So here's E-wrap 3. Wrap and turn and then E-wrap 3. And don't touch that wrap and turn peg. Now you're going to take the last peg and you're going to E-wrap chain 4, 2, 3, and 4. Now E-wrap 2, wrap and turn, and E-wrap 3. Now E-wrap 5, you're going to toss all 3 loops over on that wrap and turn peg. Purl 1, and E-wrap 2. Then you're going to E-wrap 4, decrease, moving that loop from that peg to the next peg, yarn over by laying the working yarn over the empty peg, E-wrap, toss both loops over, and then E-wrap to the end, just 2, and then you're going to E-wrap 3, purl 1, and E-wrap to the end, which should be 4. This is a set to create the lace pattern, and what you're going to do is repeat this pattern from the beginning until you have the strip as long as you need it. and then you'll cast off. So go ahead and pause the video and complete your lace trim. Now we're going to go to the back center, and you're going to need at least a 24 or 28 peg loom, doesn't matter, just so long it has increments of 4. I'm going to be using 28 pegs, but you can use 24. It's in increments of 4, and this will work out just fine. And it's a different kind of lace where it has staggered holes in it. And this is a flat panel. And so you want to E-wrap cast on 24 or 28 pegs. And then you'll want to go ahead and E-wrap 3 rows flat. So you'll E-wrap 3 rows flat. And keep in mind that 3 rows is your separator between the rows where you're adding the holes to the lace. So keep in mind 3 rows in between each thing. And the pattern is set up in 4 peg increments. So you're working with these 4 pegs. So to do the first row that is lace, you're going to E-wrap 3. Then you're going to pick up the next peg and decrease and move to the next peg. Then you're going to pull up the connecting yarn, which is this, and put it on the peg. That's your increase. Then what you're going to do is purl it, and that completes your set of 4. Now you want to repeat this 4th set, and you're going to E-wrap 3, and this is part of 1. There's your first peg on that beginning thing again, and then there's E-wrap 2, and that makes E-wrap 3. Decrease by 1. Pull up the connecting yarn, purl, and that is the second set. E-wrap 3 again to continue this 4 peg pattern all the way around until you get to the last 4 pegs, and then you'll just E-wrap them. Yes, you'll see me E-wrapping 3, but the 4th peg is where you have more than 1 loop on it, but you're going to E-wrap the last 4. At this point, you're going to now E-wrap 3 rows, and then I'll show you how the next row to stagger the whole pattern looks. To stagger the whole pattern, here's how you go about it. As you can see, 1's there, and we're going to be doing that one. And so you're going to E-wrap 1, decrease 1, pull up the connecting yarn right there, purl, and that's how you stagger right there. Now you're going to E-wrap 3 like we had been doing, and you're just going to do like we have been doing all the way across. So E-wrap 3, and there's the 2 to make 3. Then decrease by 1. Pull up the connecting yarn as your increase and purl. And you're going to go back to doing that 4 peg pattern all the way around. So E-wrap 3, decrease 1, increase, purl the increase, and continue all the way around to the other side. Then when you're done with that, you're going to E-wrap 3 more rows. And you keep doing this 8 row pattern until you get the length that you are after. And it's 8 rows because it's 3 rows of E-wrap, then the lace row, then 3 rows of E-wrap, and then the stagger lace row. And when you get to the last 2, E-wrap. So you're going to continue on, E-wrap 3, and repeat the pattern from the beginning of the back center section, and you repeat it until you get the length that you want, that you measured at the beginning on how to do that with your measuring tape. Then you're going to just cast off as you would feel comfortable doing, and then I'll show you how to sew on your pieces. So putting your pieces together to make the bolero, this is what you want to do. You want to start off with your lace trim. You want to find the ends, and then you want to pull it out and make sure that it is not twisted. That's very important to make sure it's not twisted. Okay, now that I've made sure it's not twisted, then I'm going to go in and tie those ends together. And you're going to sew these ends together to make a circle. And again, I like to make sure that none of it's twisted. So making sure it's not twisted. I can be quite particular because you don't want to get there, sew everything up, and it's twisted. So go ahead and sew that up. And there, that is connected. And now, because that's a fairly long strand, I'm going to sew the bottom half of the back center together, and that's going to be your center point. That's easy enough to see. You sewed it together. Now, to find your center point on your back center, simply find the lengthwise, fold it in half. So there's that. Fold it in half so that you can find your center, and you're going to sew them together. And I like to sew from center out to make sure that it's even. Now you want to make sure that your right sides are together and your wrong sides are away from each other, and you'll see this here. So go ahead and fold in half, and there's your center point right there. And you're going to go and sew from the center out. Just make sure that it's even. And once you've done that, you'll want to pull the string a little bit and then stretch it, which is how I get a snug seam but also loose enough. And at this point you want to sew the other half. Now to find your other half, find your midpoint, pull away from your midpoint on the other side to find, see right there is your midpoint on your lace trim, and you stretch it out, and you'll find your midpoint is right there. So go ahead and mark that however you choose. I do with a finger. Then go in and find the other end of your back center, fold in half, find your center there, and then you're going to sew from the center out, just like we did with the other side. And so that's how you're going to do that. So there's your centers together, and then you're going to sew center out, and then you're going to tuck your ends in when you're done, and then you'll want to block the piece, and then that's it. you're done. That's how to make a lace bolero.